So to make our Easter bunnies, I have a cutter quilt here. Now this is not very large at all. This would have been like a wall hanging, or it could have been for a baby crib size. And you can kind of see the names of who pieced it together. And then on the other corner here, you'll see who it was dedicated to. And this is a nice size because it is that baby quilt size. And here is my bunny. So once I take the binding off of this, and that's important, you want to take the binding off. So just get your seam ripper and carefully that will open that up, and then you will not have to deal with that or cutting it. So you can just, take it loose and fold it back. Some people have a full binding, and you'll want to remove that binding and just roll it up. That's exactly what I do, is I just roll it up and tie it, and I end up using it a lot of times when I do these type projects. Like I might have enough of the cutter quilt left to do like a mug rug. So let me get that done, and then I will be cutting out my bunnies to sew together and stuff them. Now, using this bunny pattern, you might want to explore. Here's an example. I used a table runner centerpiece. It was much smaller, and it was for Valentine's, so I used it as a cutter quilt and used the heart to make a pocket. These are my Chanel bunnies. I tied a velvet ribbon on them, and then where we're celebrating 250 years this year, 2026, I made these wooden cards, and I just hung it on his ears. But I also put some Sweet Annie in the pocket and just decorate them up and set them about. The great thing is you can change out their ribbon and use your bunny year-round. So you can literally take off this card. I just slid it onto his ears, and then that way you can just display your bunny different ways and put things in his pocket. And this pocket is white with flowers, so it'll go for spring or any holiday. I used it at Valentine's, and now I'm going to be using it for Easter and spring, and then I can change it out. Or I can add more to it, put a missy bow on it, put his little card back on his ears, or I can even place it into his pocket here. Hard to do it with one hand. You place the card in his pocket and sit him about for 4th of July. And that's just some ideas that you can use this pattern with. It's that time of year, one of our favorites, spring and Easter. I put together this adorable selection of 8 to make the ever so famous wooden cards that I make for every holiday. And I make a new collective pair or set every year. So this is the ones that I selected for this year. Now, I will be providing this link for this sheet that's already arranged, or you can screenshot this right now and be able to crop them and print them off on your inkjet printer or laserjet printer and crop them. Or if you just want to screenshot it and use one of these items, you can. Aren't they beautiful? This one almost looks like a platypus, but it is, in fact, you can see a duck. And I just love how handsome he is. And the gentleman ones are great. The elephant, of course, we never forget. Happy Easter with the bunny. And then, of course, you have her and him. And looking just dashing in their little outfits. So I'm going to paint up the back of these. And my plan is, of course, to Mod Podge and seal these to the wood. And then we'll vintage them up a little bit. Now I've got my paint coated on both sides of my cards, and I did the maze on these with chalk paint, and then on this other side I used this one right here that's new to me, is Folk Art Home Decor of the Glacier, And it is also a chalk paint, and I'm really loving this color. It's a really nice color. So what I'm going to do now is sand these and smooth it off, because you know, whenever you paint wood, your grain rises, especially with chalk paints, because they're a little bit wetter per se. They have more water content in them. And I went ahead and cut my pictures. Now these two right here with a lot of white, I'm going to use a Q-tip and use my water method to go around this to take off the excess white to go against that background. And then these right here I'm going to use as the R. So now you see why I painted both sides. And then that way I can get a better match on which side I desire to put my print. And I really like that blue against that bunny. And this one, he has the gray in, and he's so handsome. I think he is just so debonair. And then we have this one who is also debonair, and he looks pretty good on that blue as well. And the yellow complements him too, especially with this orange that's going on, or you know, more of an orange peach color. So that gives you an idea of where I'm going. So like this one, the duck that has the yellow, I may do yellow to enhance that background and really make it show up. So when you pick your colors, you can decide. And with the Happy Easter, I know that I'm most likely going to go with the blue. Absolutely. And then, of course, with the elephant. And it just seems to me more of the boy versus the girl. And even with the elephant, I may take off some of the background. I'll just tinker with it as I go. The main thing right now is to sand these, and then you can Mod Podge your pictures directly to them, or you can put your Mod Podge on and then use your heat method to press these down. I'll see as I go along. I went ahead and pre-selected which photograph I want on my card and which color I want. I also have my Q-tip with just a little bit of water. And what I'll do there is I'm going to do the Q-tip method to trim off the excess paper on these certain ones. These others, I'm probably just going to Mod Podge directly down. Now, when you do your Q-tip method, if you haven't done that before, make sure that you give yourself right much distance, and you want to make sure that it's good and wet if you're using regular paper. If you're using rice paper, it doesn't take that much. And there'll probably be some extra here so that when I go to put this on the card, I can trim it off with sandpaper if I like. And so I really need to find my water pen to make this a little bit easier to do. You can also do just the tear method. The thing with tear method though, you have to be really careful, because with paper being fibrous, sometimes it wants to go over way too far from your tear. And that's why using a wet Q-tip can help you have a little bit better aim. I already know that his hat on one side is going to go over unless I make them equal. And that's okay too. And then, like I said, I can trim the difference. And that tear just really, truly gives it that tattered look that we love so much. And just putting that concentration of water and letting it go through that paper, then you just get a really good, easy tear. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do this, and I will come back. So now I can begin Mod Podging, and as you can see, I've trimmed these down pretty good to what I want. And with the trim down ones, you probably just want to put the Mod Podge in about the area, or maybe even coat the back of them. And then again, you can do the whole card, because then it will seal it and finish it. Just simple Mod Podging as we always have to get them on there. And I'm just going to do the back of this, because I'm also going to be doing the front at some point to seal them. And this is just an easy method to make these beautiful cards. I make a set, you know, for each holiday that's collectible, and a lot of people would like to get all of them. And then I will go back and use my iron and seal these into the wood really, really good. And make sure there's no wrinkles or anything. And just use the smallest amount of Mod Podge. You do not want to, like, load it up. It just takes a thin coat because it's a glue as well as a sealer. And there we go. We'll let her dry. They'll dry pretty fast. And move on to the next ones. So using the Apothecary Labels stamp by OD, these are wonderful because you get all these different size letters. You get your Roman numerals as well, and then you get all of these frames and labelers per se, and it's all stamps. You will need like an acrylic block to put it on, or you can use the IOD flat acrylic sheet to put them on, and you can create your own design. Now on these you could really go all out and do like the frames and put a monogram on it if you like, or you can just do what I'm going to do, and that's I'm going to select different words, maybe spring, Easter, handsome, strong, things like that, and I'll probably use like my scrap pieces of fabric that I have over here and make a nice little tag to go on them, and then that way it can be hung or left as it is, or used as ephemera and put into junk journals or fixed on something. These make a nice gift, and you can mail these with a single postage stamp in the mail, so it makes it really, really neat. They're very lightweight, and you can get a couple of these in the mail for one stamp. So that's what I'm going to do. Now, I went ahead and I have also added an additional decorative stamp on the back. They could write a message, or they could put something on here, or perhaps when they're not looking this way, they can flip it around this way and just add their own personal touch. Additionally, I put my brand along with the year. That way, every year when I make these different sets, there will be a date to signify when those were created. And no, I do not actually keep any of mine. I have yet to have kept any because, well, most time they get sold and the others get to collect them. But I do have you and the videotape to signify when I made those and what design was used. I stamped the words I want to use. I have like spring and bunny and Easter, and I've just used some of my scrap fabric from the bunnies that you will also see and have the pattern to, and that way I can make a little tag to go on there. This is rather large, but I think it makes a statement for these, you know, just kind of giving it something different, and I'll cut these and make them look a little bit more presentable. So the next step here is to seal these with our heat, and I use my felt pad. This is the greatest thing ever, and I have you an affiliate link to this. I've used it several times, and so it will be the same link that you've seen on the other videos regarding using this wool felt heat pad. That way it gives you a good seal, and you'll see these little wrinkles and bubbles and things that we got on here will smooth right out when we use the heat iron on them. Now I'll use my heat resistant cover over them. I'm just placing my Teflon sheet on there so that the glue that's already been put on the entire wood block will not be coming through, or, you know, get on the iron and transfer it and make it sticky to something else. Normally I have a clear Teflon sheet, my heat resistant sheet, where you can see the wrinkles disappear, but these will be permanently sealed to that wood as though they were one, and there won't ever be a problem with any peeling or chipping coming off. They seal completely to the wood, and there is no wrinkles or anything to show that there was ever any different. and they just look so nice and smooth, and it really gives them such a professional look. Just super smooth. And I'll do any of my rouging on there after I get this done. So I just wanted to show you. Alright, as I've gone about working on these, I have used my distressing inks. And on these, the blue, I used the patine. And then like this one, on this duck, I used the white. And those are really neat to have. And if you can come by them, it is the Tim Holtz Ranger Distress inks. Here is the patine. That's what's on the edge of the blue ones. And then here is the white, which is around this duck. And as you can see, it softens their color and just really makes it suitable. Now I'm using my vintage photo on these tags that I've made. And I've just took some tacky glue and glued them to some Awesomeberg where they were on the repurposed pieces of scrap fabric after I stamped them. So right now I'm just doing my inking and distressing and aging up and softening some of these colors.